Ted Savransky, Teddy Covers with Ross the Boss Benjamin here at the Westgate SuperBook in Las Vegas. It is time for the WagerTalk College Football 2025 preview. We're going to talk win totals. We're going to talk conference championships for all the Power Fours. We're going to talk national champs. We're going to talk group of 5 teams to watch. And of course, we'll leave you guys with a pair of week 1 best bets. So, Ross, the boss.
Yes, sir.
How was your summer, sir?
It's been great, having a fabulous baseball season, and finally got to meet you personally for the first time, Teddy.
It's about time you came to our fair city.
No
We don't
kidding.
call it Sin City for nothing, so you belong here, I believe, with the rest of us. Let's start with win totals. And in my opinion, we're talking about college football futures, NFL futures, MLB futures, NBA, it doesn't matter what sport. If there's one future bet I want to make, it's win totals. Why? Because only 2 choices, over or under. And we'll talk about why I prefer these bets to things like who's going to win the conference, who's going to win the national championship. These bets are positive expectation bets when you find good win totals, and just about every sharp bettor that I know in town gets involved with them. So let's start with who you like and who you don't like when it comes to win totals this year. Give me a team you like. You want to start there?
Yeah, I like Arizona State. I know they lost Cam Scatteraboo. That's a huge loss, but they returned 17 starters from a team that went 11-3 a season ago. They went to the college football playoff. They took Texas to double overtime. By the way, Texas is currently number 1 in the preseason poll, if that means anything at this particular moment in time. Sam Levitt, tremendous quarterback, Teddy. Sophomore, was a second-team All-Big 12 last year as a freshman. And Jordan Tyson, a All-American wide receiver. They're going to be explosive on offense. Their defense was a little bit of an enigma last year, but I think they'll be much improved this year with a new defensive coordinator. And I like Arizona State here to go over their win total of 8.5, and I'll have a lot more regarding Arizona State later in the show. But
sure. Is 8.5 widely available? Is that juiced? What's the story with the 8.5?
8.5 at even money, I thought.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sure. So when you're not laying juice, because when I'm talking my win totals, there's 2 that I like that I'm going to talk. You're going to talk one more as well.
Yep.
But I will always look unders before I look for overs in win totals. Why? Because injuries work in your favor. You don't have to worry about a team getting screwed by a bad call. You want them to get screwed by a bad call. The injuries won't hurt you. They can only help you. So, in general, I'm looking for unders more than overs. And I got 2 unders I'm going to talk about. Let me start with the first one. And they're both juiced.
Okay.
You've got to lay, they're both 5.5. Washington State's heavily juiced right now. I don't care. This team went 8-5 last year. But when you talk about a team that lost everything in the offseason, Washington State truly lost everything this past offseason. Head coach Jack Dicker, bye-bye, he left for Wake. What did they lose, 70 players between graduation and the transfer portal? New head coach Jimmy Rogers, look, it's a tough spot. He may be a brilliant coach, but we also need to look at schedule. And when I'm looking for win total, schedule is a big piece of the equation, one of the biggest. Road games, traveling from Pullman. Pullman's not an easy place to travel from. Here's where they got to go. North Texas, Colorado State, Ole Miss, Virginia, Oregon State, James Madison. Oregon State, they have a home and home. One of the only times all year you'll see, they'll lose twice to the Beavers this year. And then at home, San Diego State, Washington, Toledo, those are the only home games in September and October. None of them are easy. This team is poised for a massive decline. Washington State under 5.5 wins makes a whole lot of sense to this bettor. Give me a team that you like under, or you want to talk about Washington State for a minute?
No, I totally agree. Washington State lost their quarterback in the transfer portal.
They lost everybody.
They lost their coaching staff. Yes, exactly. And you mentioned their schedule. I mean, they're scrambling right now, being one of the only teams, I guess, is the Pac-12 still a conference?
Yeah, next year it'll be back.
Yeah.
Because half the Mountain West is moving to the Pac-12.
But right now they're almost like scheduling an independent schedule, and by the opponents you just mentioned,
very random.
Yeah, they're certainly didn't schedule lightly, is what I'm trying to say. And you're right. I mean, the travel, you have to take into consideration anytime you travel. That's why Seattle in the NFL annually is the most well-traveled team in the NFL.
Sure, and the NFL guys, they get these nice luxury jets.
Right, yeah.
You don't necessarily get that coming from Washington State. And Pullman ain't Seattle.
No. But in any event, yeah, I agree with that pick. I'm going to go a little different route here. I'm going to go with an under, and it's juiced at -140. The Army Black Knights, who had a fabulous year last year.
Sure.
Everything went right, Teddy. They're only at 7.5 this year for a team that won 12 games a season ago. And when you look at that, it's easy to be sucked into going over the total. Here's the thing with me. I look at Army, they have the number 106 strength of schedule in the whole country. Easy schedule, right? Okay, but why did they go from 12 wins to this year being 7.5 as their over and under total? And there's a reason why they're at -140 in that regard. They lost their quarterback, Bryson Daly. This is a kid that rushed for 1,700 yards last year, 32 touchdowns. They're only returning 9 starters. They have tough road games at Kansas State, Tulane, Texas, San Antonio. Tulane and San Antonio are 2 teams to watch in the AAC this year. Also, Air Force, much improved on the road at Air Force. And Navy, I think, is a sleeper in the AAC. We'll get to that later. But in any event, I like the Army Black Knights, with all that being said, to go under their total of 7.5 regular season wins at moneyline odds of -140.
Sure. Certainly things broke right for Army last year. And 2 years in a row, things don't always break right for the same team. I'm going to talk about another under that I like here, and that's West Virginia under the total. Again, that's 5.5, and it's juiced. I get it. 6-7 last year. They made the Frisco Bowl, but then lost to Memphis in that game. And we got Rich Rod back. Maybe he never should have left West Virginia. Certainly, you look at some of his track record. His first year, the first time at West Virginia, they went 3-8. They went 9-4 the second year. At Michigan, they went 3-9. And he had more success at Arizona and Jacksonville State in his first season on the helm. But both of those years, first he ran the Arizona program into the ground before he left. And Jacksonville State last year was real simple. They had speed, other teams didn't. They were faster than their opponents. That's not going to be the case for West Virginia this year. New offense, new defense, new coordinators, new personnel, and this is not an offense that gets designed and installed seamlessly. It certainly hasn't in most previous stops. And again, we look at those early home games, September and October. Pitt, arch rival, Utah, TCU. They win one of those, they're in good shape. You know, last home game, they got Texas Tech. They lost 52-15 to them last year. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot better. And the road schedule is brutal. 5.5 wins. Put me down for the under in West Virginia. And again, it's juiced. The markets are telling you that it's going to be a fairly difficult rebuild for West Virginia in this Rich Rodriguez era. Before we talk about conference championship, we'll go through the Power 4 conferences and talk about who we like to win the conference championship. Ross, college football is something that you like.
Yes.
It's something that I like too.
Yes.
Promote yourself a little bit. Why?
Right.
If someone's interested in your college football, why are you the guy? Or if someone's interested in college football, why are you the guy to get?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Teddy. College football last year, #1 in units earned and #1 in win percentage at WagerTalk.com. And folks, I have the ultimate respect for my fellow handicappers at WagerTalk.com. And I could say this with the utmost confidence. It is collectively the best group of handicappers you'll find anywhere on the internet. Also #2 in college football 2 years ago in units earned. And when you combine the last 2 college football seasons, finished #1 collectively in those 2 years in terms of units earned. So I love college football. I finished last year on a 60-35 run, which is good for 63%. So there's some reasons why I like college football, Ted.
Exactly. You don't like it if you can't beat it. That's the way it works for me with sports. I did not have anywhere near the college football season you had last year. There were some highlights, however, most assuredly. The big tickets for me in college football have been fantastic. I'm perfect, 6-0 in my last 6 tries. That dates back to 2023. So the big plays are something I don't put out a lot of them. Pay attention when I do. The 5% big tickets have done very, very well. 100% perfect in college football since 2023. Had a great bowl season last year. Closed out. I'm 3-0 so far in 2025.
Okay.
Since the calendar turned to 2025, Ross. So there's something.
In the bowl season.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. So
you had me a little
season,
bit confused there for a second, Ted.
3-0 this year in college football. And we'll see if we keep it rolling. I already have a couple of plays locked and loaded on my page at WagerTalk.com. You have everything posted already?
I don't. I'm not one of those guys who post too early, although I guess you can make the case that if you don't do that, you lose some betting value on games you like. But I'll have something posted this week. I'm going to go light on week 0. Week 1 is what I'm looking forward to the most. Week 0, what do we got? 6 or 7 games?
Yeah, not much.
And we're going to have some picks in week 1, me and Teddy, that we're going to share with the audience. So looking forward to college football season.
Yeah. Be sure to stay tuned. Best bet before this show from each of us for week 1 before this show is through. But let's talk futures now. And let's go through the Power 4 conferences. And I have mine listed in a different order than you have yours listed.
That's okay.
So I'm going to go in the order that I have them listed in. And I'm going to start with the only team I would bet in the Big Ten.
Yep.
It's boring. Ohio State. In fact, the first 2 of these, I'm looking at chalky type teams. And by Ohio State, you can get plus 200 for Ohio State. If you shop around, you can find plus 210 on the Buckeyes. But we're talking about the defending national champs, and they're every bit as good this year as they were last year. I mean, make no mistake about it. The Buckeyes, as a program, are one of those teams that's truly upper echelon. And when you look at their competition, all right, Penn State, Oregon are the other 2 teams to beat, maybe Michigan. I don't know that Michigan's going to be great. I'm not sold on the Wolverines this year. I'm really not. James Franklin's 1-18 versus top 5 squads. The number 1 team in the country, Texas, is an underdog in week 1 because they're playing at Ohio State. We can count on the Buckeyes being in the mix. Plus 200 is the only way I would look. What do you like in the Big Ten?
I like Penn State. I don't like betting chalk, but I mean, I see no other. Either it's Ohio State, Penn State, maybe Michigan, but I agree with you. I think they're overvalued, Michigan, because of their brand name. But Penn State, you got Drew Aller coming back at quarterback, senior quarterback. They lost 3 games last year. They lose to Notre Dame in the conference, or in the college football semifinal, 27-24, close game. Their other 2 losses against Oregon and Ohio State. Both of those games were 1-score games. I know James Franklin has a horrible history, and I've done a lot of shows with Teddy before, and he brings this up all the time, and rightfully so, because
they keep losing.
If you're 1-18 against, it's kind of hard not to ignore. So in any event, I think when you look at their schedule, it's 37th in the country. You compare that to Ohio State at number 24, Oregon at number 19. They don't play Michigan. They get Oregon at home. That's going to be a big revenge game, being that they lost the Big Ten title game to Oregon a season ago. And they bring back plenty of talent. And I just think Penn State at odds of plus 240. I hate going that low, Teddy. But it's like you said with Ohio State. I think we're looking at a 2-horse race in the Big Ten. I know that's going out on a limb in August, but that's what I'm seeing.
Sure, and I neglected to mention why I don't like Oregon. I watched Oregon play Ohio State twice last year. I bet on Ohio State both those games. I lost the first one, and I won the second one. Ohio State was better in the first one.
Yeah.
Things didn't break right. I think there's a pretty big, not an enormous gap, but a big enough gap between Oregon and Ohio State that I could only pick the Buckeyes. And those two teams won't meet unless they play in the Big Ten championship game. Talk to me about the SEC. Who do you like in the SEC, Ross?
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here, and I'm going to take LSU in the SEC. And if I get my notes up correctly, I could talk about it more intelligently, and I do right now. In any event, LSU, 16 starters back, Teddy. 8 on offense, 8 on defense, led by senior quarterback Grant Nussmeier. And he threw for over 4,000 yards a season ago against some pretty damn good competition. They were 9-4 a year ago. In their first 10 games a year ago were against teams that were nationally ranked at the time they met them. So to go 9-4 against that type of schedule, I guess that's underachieving by LSU standards and their fan base. But I really like their chances this year. They have tough road games versus Ole Miss. And Brian Kelly is 2-0 since he arrived at LSU against Ole Miss and the head coach, whose name is Kiffin. So they've owned Ole Miss, and then also their other road game that's tough is Bama. And certainly, anytime you go to Tuscaloosa late in the year, it's always a tough game. But the upside to that is they'll be going in on a bye week, so I think they'll be in prime position for a big effort there. Explosive offensively. By all accounts, they're going to be vastly improved defensively. They're certainly experienced on defense. They're back 7, all returns. So I like LSU here at odds of plus 700 to win the SEC. And, you know, again, you can go chalk with a Georgia. You can go chalk with an Alabama. I'm looking, I'm looking for value here, and I think LSU at plus 700 is worth my money.
Sure. It's certainly, when we're talking about Big Ten, we're talking about SEC, we're talking about Big 12, wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and the SEC of all of them might be the most wide open. Yeah. You know, even with the elite talent. I'm going to go with Alabama. You say the Alabama's chalk. Shit, you can fit Alabama plus 400, plus 450. There's a plus 500 out there for Alabama. Not to win the national title, just to win the SEC.
Yeah.
The team who wins the SEC is going to be one of the favorites to win the national title. But certainly when we talk about Kalen DeBoer, first, Kalen DeBoer is a coach that we trust. All right. I know last year wasn't what Alabama fans were hoping for. And certainly when you talk about bad losses as double-digit chalk at Oklahoma and at Vanderbilt, that's not what Bama fans expect. Year 2, we like the coaches who've gotten their systems installed. We like the urgency for Alabama. And from a talent standpoint, I mean, two most talented teams in the country, Ohio State and Alabama. Hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Maybe Georgia would be in that mix.
Are you concerned a little bit, first-time starter and quarterback at Alabama?
No.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. Look, every QB starts as a first-time starter.
Yeah.
In college football, you don't get 20-year veterans, you know? And when you talk about a guy like Simpson, he was the projected starter. They brought him along. And if he stinks, it's not like there's no one else that can take over at the job. So I'm an Alabama believer. Let's talk ACC. And the ACC, I'm going to take a shot here. All right, of a little bit of a longer shot. Let me Louisville. So I found there's plus 750, plus 850. And again, it doesn't sound like much of a difference. That's a whole unit more if you bet it at where it's plus 850 versus plus 750. One of the best pieces of advice I can give to any bettor out there. Shop around. If you have one account, get 2. If you have 2 accounts, get 3. If you have 3 accounts, get 6. You should have an account at every sports book that's legal in your state. We were talking earlier about some of with the national championship numbers and some of the numbers there. At this book, it's 100 to 1. At that book, it's 60 to 1. You know, some of the sleeper I'm going to talk about. I looked around at the prices over the last 24 hours. One book's 35 to 1. One book's 50 to 1. All right. Take advantage of the differences from one book to another, and have multiple accounts. Even only $100, split it $25 4 ways into 4 different accounts, literally. So these little differences, they don't sound like much. They make a pretty big difference to your bottom line. For Louisville, the bottom line, look, the talent's there, the schedule's there, the price is right, and I'm not really a believer when it comes to the favorites. I don't trust Clemson. All right, I don't. I know their talent level is extraordinary. Everyone's coming back for Clemson, and they're the favorites in this. Okay, Clemson's been a step short the last 3 or 4 years with all the homegrown talent, and I don't trust them enough to lay a favorites price. And Miami, Cristobal's not a coach I want my money on to win big things, plain and simple. So at plus 750 / plus 850, that becomes hedgeable if they reach the title game, which I think they're live to do. Give me Jeff Brom and the Cardinals as my ACC choice.
Nice.
What about you?
I'm glad you went that way. You know what I mean? Rather than the standard Clemson pick. You know what I mean? I agree with you. I mean, Georgia Tech, I'm going to take a shot with there, Teddy.
So you're with me in terms of the thoughts that maybe the top of this conference isn't is vulnerable.
The only one's going to be Clemson is Clemson, probably, when it comes to winning the ACC title. Because look, we're not kidding anybody. The ACC might be the weakest power conference in the country, in my estimation anyway. I'd be interested in what you have to say in that regard. But Georgia Tech, 7 offensive, 7 defensive starters returning from a team that just went 7-6 last year. However, they have what I consider to be, and I'll get some argument here, but that's okay. I like Haynes King as the best quarterback in the ACC this year for Georgia Tech. He's the straw that stirs the drink. Georgia Tech's going to be able to move the ball. Here's the thing with their schedule. Their ACC opener is at is home against Clemson. So they get Clemson at home, and they miss the other 3 favorites in the ACC. No Miami, no SMU, no Louisville on the schedule. So that Clemson game at home early on is going to be a huge game. And even if they lose that game, I wouldn't consider them out of the picture in the ACC. And Teddy talked about hedging, okay? And this is an excellent opportunity because here's the thing. I'm going to talk about hedging again with another team, but to stay on topic here, at plus 1,200, if Georgia Tech even has a opportunity in their last regular season finale to win, I'm going to start hedging from that point on. So it's not always about us taking the plus 1,200 or plus 750 with Louisville. It's us looking and say, okay, if they don't win it all, are we going to be in position to hedge? And if you like them to win the conference, you would think that that would be the case. And in a wide open conference like the ACC, above and beyond Clemson, I think you're better suited to look for a valuable price in this situation.
Sure. So again, we're talking about betting futures. It's a combination of price, talent level, and competition / schedule. And when those 3 things all work towards one, Georgia Tech, you talk about how they missed the 3 of the 4 top teams in the conference. Schedule works in their favor. The competition, we don't trust the top teams, works in Georgia Tech's favor. The price, having the ability to hedge, works in Georgia Tech's favor, and you think the talent level's there.
Yeah.
Like I think Louisville is there. So conceptually, we're on the same page. Let's talk about the Big 12. Why don't you talk about the Big 12?
Boy, the Big 12. You know, Teddy, the 2 co-favorites, according to DraftKings, are plus 550. That's Kansas State and Arizona State. Plus 550 are the 2 co-favorites, which is highly unusual in a Power 4 conference. Anyway, having said that, I like Arizona State to win this conference at plus 550. I'm going to have more on Arizona State as a sleeper pick in the national title picture, and I'll tell you why when we get to that segment. But, you're talking about an Arizona State team. They returned 17 starters from a season ago, a team that went 11-3, a team that took Texas to double overtime in the college football playoff quarterfinal. They returned second-team All-Big 12 quarterback Sam Levitt, who's now a sophomore. They got a great wide receiver in Jordan Tyson, who was a third-team All-American last year. They do lose Cam Scatterboot. That's a huge loss, Teddy. But having said that,
running backs are never a huge loss.
It's just the Big 12 to me is a conference right now. I will go out on a limb. Whoever wins the Big 12 is going to have 2 conference losses. Okay? So when I look at Arizona State's, and I'll get to this later, their weak non-conference schedule, which is all of 3 games, they're going to be prohibited favorites in all 3. I don't see them losing 3 games in the Big 12. So I do like Arizona State here at plus 550. And by the way, they're plus 550 to win the Big 12. They're plus 380 to get to the college football playoffs. Go figure. So, the odds are disproportionate is what I'm trying to say. And I'll have more on Arizona State later.
Sure, and that's another story where when you shop around, you're going to find very different prices. And you find anomalies like that where a team is, it's easier to make the playoffs than it is to win your conference championship, for what it's worth. And the markets are telling us that now. But maybe not so much in a conference like the Big 12.
No, I don't. I think it's going to be a one-team playoff team coming out of the Big 12.
League.
Yeah. And again, Teddy, we'll see what transpires, but I'll go out on a limb and say it's going to be whoever wins the Big 12 is going to have 2 conference losses. And if that happens, based on everything else in the SEC and Big 10, we're probably going to look at just one team coming out of the Big 12.
Sure, and obviously you talk about Arizona State as being very live. And you had the 2 co-favorites. Who was the other co-favorite?
Kansas State.
Iowa State's
Baylor.
Right there. Baylor's right there. Yeah. Utah's right there. And Texas Tech is right. I saw Utah and Texas Tech 6-1.
Yeah.
So you could argue there's 6 co-favorites.
Yes.
in this league.
And Texas Tech, I think, is very live, by the way.
Well, that's so, and Utah and Texas Tech, and I couldn't decide whether I should talk Utah or Texas Tech. They're both 6-1 here at the Westgate, in that range, regardless of where you where you play. Utah, look, this is a belief in a head coach. I believe in Kyle Willingham. Okay, when you've lived, you and I have been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
We're both old guys now. Did you started doing this? Well, your hair's not like mine yet, but you started doing this. Your hair was all brown.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah, exactly.
Between us, we probably get 60, 70 years of experience. Whittingham's one of those guys who we want our money on off a bad year. That's we've seen that. And from a defensive standpoint, this team's loaded. They've been racked with injuries in each of the last 2 seasons. Utah stays healthy. They are one of the teams to beat. And Texas Tech, they spent a ton of money and bringing in a ton of guys from the portal. 18 returning starters. The competition there is tremendous. The depth at Texas Tech is way better than it's been for years. Yeah, McGuire's building something there.
Yeah, and they finished real strong last year.
They did. So Texas Tech and Utah, it's 2 teams. I'm sorry. For this one, I'm giving you 2 teams. But that's, what am I going to do? That's how I see it. Texas Tech and Utah, both at 6-1. If either cashes, you'll make a profit. In the best case scenario, they play each other.
Yeah,
which is
a lot of parity in the Big 12, and sometimes it's parity because the conference is so good. I think it's parity because the conference is pretty mediocre compared to the other 3. Compared to the SEC and Big Ten anyway.
Sure, the SEC and Big Ten, they just keep swallowing up all the good teams from all the other conferences.
Exactly.
So, it is what it is. Look, we're only halfway through. We still have best bets for week 1. We have group of 5 teams to watch. We're going to talk national championship. But before we do that, I got to ask you guys for one favor. It's real simple. If you like this type of analysis, this is what we're asking for. Hit the like button. Done. Thank you. Much obliged. Comment below. Tell us what you think about our opinions, who we right on, who we wrong on. Tell Ross the boss he's an idiot. Tell me I'm an idiot. We don't care. We appreciate the comments. We care. It's okay. You're allowed to have different opinions than we do, and the comment section makes all the difference. Thank you for commenting. And if you haven't done so already, more than 210,000 of you have subscribed to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We're hoping for 250,000 before this football season is done. Someone saying we're supposed to have 300,000 by the end of January. Whatever. And join us.
And it's absolutely free.
Yeah.
Everybody likes free, right, Teddy?
Sure. You get instant alerts every time these videos go live. Subscribe to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And thank you so much for the likes and the follows. All right, where are we going next? Group of 5 team to watch, I think, is what I had next. So let's talk about what group of 5 team. And in my opinion, there's only 2 that we can talk about who's live to make it into the playoffs. One of these teams is going to be a playoff team. Maybe there's a 3rd team out there that someone's in love with. But you got to bet. Frankly, I don't. I would, if I had to bet it, I'd probably bet yours. Yeah. But okay.
Yeah.
They're live.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Boise.
Boise State. They're an experienced team, an experienced quarterback who's played at a high level. A team that went to the college football playoff last year. They were a little overmatched against Penn State, but they didn't embarrass themselves. They lost 31-14. Look, in 12 games this year, they're going to be favored in 11 of them. And there's no way that they should not win the Mountain West. I mean, on paper anyway, okay? I shouldn't say no way, meaning it'll never happen. But in terms of pure talent, and what this program has accomplished over the years and where they are right now in terms of experience and being in the playoffs last year, they're head and shoulders the class of the Mountain West. And one game they won't be favored is at Notre Dame. Okay, so if they happen to win that game, good luck with the Memphis play. You know what I mean? Because somebody's going to have to upset them in the Mountain West, and somebody's going to have to win the Mountain West over them if they happen to knock off Notre Dame. I don't think they will on the road, okay? But I certainly wouldn't count them out. I think Boise State, it's a boring pick, as we discussed off air. But what other options do we have in a group of 5?
Well, that's just it. And Boise, the brand is there, okay? Boise, from an NIL standpoint, they have money, they get transfers, they get recruits. They're head and shoulders ahead of just about every mid-major program, Bauer, group of 5 program. Although don't sleep on my UNLV running Rebels. Dan Mullen's squad. I'm telling you, the program, the UNLV program now compared to where it was even 5 years ago, let alone for the the 30 years I've been in Vegas or close to it. It's way, it's always been a sleeping giant.
Yep.
And they brought in they lost a ton from last. They lost everything from last year. But the new kids coming in look pretty good. Rebels could upset Boise.
Talk about NIL money. They should get plenty of it in this town.
Well, that's the whole reason I'm picking Memphis is NIL money.
Yeah.
All right. Most of the group of 5, there's no money.
Yeah.
The coaches are out fundraising. Memphis got a lot of FedEx money. They really did.
Yeah.
They went 11-2 last year. They went 10-3 the year before. Ryan Silverfield has built a program. The base is high. All right. The floor is really high for Memphis. They have a shockingly easy road schedule. And when we talk about, how do you win a national? How do you get to be a group of 5 team? You got to win all your games.
Yeah.
And that means you got to win on the road. And when you have a shockingly easy road schedule, that helps. They're 43-6 straight up at home since 2017. All right, that feels worth something. Arkansas at home in September. We talk about the one test game, and that's the one test game for Memphis. If they can win that game, they're on the radar, and in theory they could roll. So I worry about Memphis' defense. Boise has the better of the 2 defenses, and probably by a fairly wide margin. But the schedule's right for Memphis to make some noise. The talent's there. And if Boise doesn't get there, Memphis is my second choice.
Yeah, Silverfield has done a tremendous job. That Memphis area for high school football is a very underrated area. And he's done a tremendous job of keeping kids home, Teddy. So he's done a fabulous job with that program. And you mentioned it. The one enigma that Memphis has had, they've always been able to score. They always have good quarterback play. They always have good play from their running backs. The problem is they can't stop people at times, especially in big games. And you can't make a living on a winning 48-45 games. So if they improve at the least defensively, I could foresee them winning the AAC and certainly giving Boise State a run for their money in terms of the group of 5 team to make it to the college football playoff.
There you go. There's hope if you live in Memphis or Boise for your college football team this season. Let's shift our focus now to talk about national title.
Okay.
And I'm going to start when we talk about odds to win the national title and bets to win the national title. Let me make this very clear. This part of the video is for entertainment purposes only. I did not bet this. I will not bet this. I didn't bet my long shot. I didn't bet my short shot. It's not, in my opinion, a positive expectation bet. The people that bet national championship futures benefit their fans, and there's someone that wants to be able to tweet out, oh, look at this winning ticket I had. One team's going to win it. Every other team's going to lose. We have 133 teams this year. Is that what it is? 132 teams are going to lose it, and one team's going to win it. All right. There's no odds to win the national championship. Only yes. It's a negative expectation wager. All right. Even when you talk about, we can hedge. Now we have 4 games. You're hedging away all your profit. So, national championship discussion is fun to talk about from an actual profitability standpoint. I'll talk about it, but again, they're not bets that I'm serious about, and they're not bets that the pros that I know here in Vegas are serious about, unless we're talking about real live long shots. And maybe I will put something on my live long shot. Maybe you will too,
yes.
I think.
Yes, I will.
But the short shot I probably won't. And if I do, pennies, nothing serious. A quarter of a unit, a tenth of a unit. Action, pizza money. Not, big unit bets for these types. So let's talk. You want to do sleepers first? Let's do best bets first, and then do sleepers after. Okay. What's your best bet?
So
who's winning the national title this year?
I'm going to keep it real simple. If I like LSU to win the SEC, they're obviously going to be in the college football playoff. And if they don't win the SEC, I like them still to get to the college football playoff. And at odds of 14 plus 1,400, there's some value there. Now, why I don't like playing futures normally, Teddy, is because especially even at plus 1,400, there's not a lot of tremendous value or hedging opportunities at plus 1,400 without pissing away your profit margin. So why I don't like futures is the fact that I don't like being married to one team. And that's what too many people make a mistake out there. If they like a team in September or in August, they feel like they have to back them all year long. And there's certain situations that could change, injury-wise, underperforming-wise, that your team might fall short of expectations, and then you feel like you have to back them the rest of the way and be hard-headed along the way. So that's why I don't like playing futures. But in terms of a long shot this year, I mentioned Arizona State. Plus 10, well, here's the thing. Teddy mentioned disparity between the books and why it's important to shop. I just went up to the window here at where we are right now at the Westgate, and Arizona State is 60-1 to win a national title. At DraftKings right now, you can get them at 100-1. Okay, why do I like 100-1 to win a national title? It seems like an absurd bet. We talked about hedging. We talked about pissing our money away, trying to hedge on a big. Here you got a lot of room at 100-1, Teddy. Yep. So, look, just because I like a team at 100-1 or plus 10,000, whatever term you want to use, doesn't mean it's an absurd bet. Because basically, Arizona State plays in a conference that's wide open. They're a co-favorite in the conference at plus 550. They're plus 380 to make it to the playoffs. If they win the Big 12, they're going to be in the playoffs. You got an excellent opportunity to hedge it plus at 100-1. Also, this gives you an extended period to hedge because you have a lot of play here at 100-1. Where if they go down to the final regular season game and they need to win to get to the Big 12 title game, you got an excellent opportunity to hedge from that point on. Okay, and assure yourself. You don't always have to make a big profit, folks. We're in this business to make money.
Grinders.
No matter what it is.
We're grinders.
So that's my strategy with Arizona State. I know a lot of you out there have mentioned to me when I've mentioned this on other programs, Russ, are you crazy? 10,000-1? Well, there's a method to my madness, and hopefully you grasp upon that in my analysis here.
100-1.
Yeah. Sorry, 100-1.
10,000-1. Yeah. I'll make that bet.
Plus 10,000, yes. Yeah, exactly.
And it's definitely worth noting. We talk about these national title picks, and it's more talk than not talk. But when you're talking about live long shots and building a portfolio, it does give you flexibility.
Yeah.
My national title winner's simple. Who hasn't won in a couple years, and they're really freaking good? That's Alabama. All right. I'm an Alabama. Count me as a Crimson Tide believer. All right. Count me as a Kalen DeBoer believer. For my talent, there's a handful of teams that the depth is there, the NFL frontline talent is there, the coaching is there, the systems are in place, the facilities are there. Alabama's that. The top. If every starter for Alabama gets hurt, how much your power rating is going down? Not much, because the backups are elite. So you need that level of depth. And certainly, I like when you talk about winning titles. I like coaches fairly early in their tenure to win their first title somewhere, second year, third year, fourth year. That tends to be a sweet spot. Bama's live. I'll just leave it at that. And when it comes to a sleeper, and look, we're spending a lot of time in the SEC today.
Okay.
Talk about the Texas A&M Aggies, all right? Well, I'm a Mike Elko believer, another one. You find them, I saw 35-1, I saw 50-1. And again, what's the difference between 35-1 and 50-1? It's real simple. When you win, you can win $35 for every dollar you bet, or you can win $50 for every dollar you bet. It's up to you. Bet it where you want to. Oh, I bet here. No! Bet where you find the best of the number. I love the Westgate SuperBook. Do I make every bet here? I do not. Why'd I move to Vegas? I moved to Vegas because you could bet everywhere. You're not stuck with your bookie. You're not stuck with whatever you had back home. And that's literally why I moved out here. I wanted that line variance. 50-1 you can find on Mike Elko's squad. Look, they're loaded. All right? A&M really is loaded. And when you're in a conference where you pull a couple upsets, you can be in the mix. At 51, all we're saying is make the playoff. You don't have to win the SEC to make the playoff. You don't have to be in the SEC title game to make the playoff. You just got to be in the mix to be in the playoff. I think the Aggies are alive, and I don't think 30 years. My first football season out here was 1998. And I don't ever remember saying, yeah, let's make a future bet on Texas A&M to win it all.
Yeah.
This might be that year for the Aggies. I think they're alive to go a long, long, long way.
You could make a case in the SEC we could see 3, possibly 4 teams come out of the SEC in the college football playoffs.
Wouldn't shock me at all.
So your point about you don't necessarily have to win the SEC, you just have to have a very good season and have 1 or 2 quality wins against top opponents, and you can get there.
Sure, you got to be in the mix.
Yep.
Ross the Boss Benjamin, he's bringing it from WagerTalk.com. Ross, have anything you want to promote in particular before we give our best bets?
Well, we talked about college football. College football package right now throughout the national championship game, $599, folks. $599. Do the math on that. So again, college football #1 last year.
Just to be you get every play, every day from the first week through the national championship game. There's nothing more to buy. There's no bait and switch. There's no nonsense at WagerTalk. You got to get the Platinum Club.
No.
None of that BS at WagerTalk. We're real as it gets in that regard. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. It's okay. But #1 last year, and yeah, I mean the old. Teddy's referring to the old days with the phone services and all that. We're true blue at WagerTalk.com. All of us do this full-time professionally. There's no part-timers here. We don't play games. We're as transparent as they come. Check out our yesterday's plays section. Check out our hot streaks on each one of our pages. It's true blue. It's totally 100% transparent.
And, of course, the website, WagerTalk.com. Ross, he has a little shortcut. You can get to his page, WT.buzz/RB for Ross Benjamin. You can get to my page, WT.buzz/TC for Teddy Covers. No one calls me Savransky, dude. It doesn't matter where I go in this town. They're like, Savransky? That's your name? I'm like, no, yeah, I'm Teddy Covers. It is what it is. I thought about legally changing my name to do it, and I'm like,
one of the huge icons in the business. I'll say it for him because he won't. So Teddy's been around for a long time. He's featured in an article in the New York Times many years ago, and you're a true feather in the cap to our industry, Teddy.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of publicity over the years.
Yeah.
I've been in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Boston Globe. Done the national TV show, ESPN. So the mainstream media has liked me. Most of my clients have liked me. Not all of them, and not always. We have good runs, we have bad runs, but we're expecting big things in 2025 in college football. Check out the website, WagerTalk.com, and get on board. Or just track us, see how we're doing. All right, week 1.
Yes.
Let's talk best bets. And both of us have one. This is one that I honestly think I haven't bet it yet. It might well make my client card. And I'll give it out to you guys. You want to go?
Yeah.
You go first.
All right. So Kentucky is hosting Toledo in week 1. And, I always say, and it's been said by many others other than myself, that if it looks too good in sports betting, most of the times it is. Okay. Toledo opens as an 11-point dog at Kentucky. They're down to 8.5. Did I lose some betting value here? Absolutely. But still, here's the thing. How many people are going to look at this game and say Kentucky as a single-digit favorite, an SEC team against a team from the MAC, and they're playing at home? It's got to be a lock. Well, no. I'm going to go the opposite way. I think Kentucky will be at the bottom of the SEC, if not at the bottom, near the bottom of the SEC standings when it's all said and done. Toledo, one of the favorites to win the MAC. Jason Campbell, 16 straight years without a losing season. A couple of 500s in there, but still, he's built a strong program.
It's the Mike Tomlin of college football.
Yeah, I should say the Toledo program, 16 straight years. But Jason Campbell has been there, or Candle has been there for quite a while. He's a proven head coach. This is an experienced team. And you're also going to be looking at the fact that Kentucky has a big game up next. And, folks, I don't have that in front of me right now. Let me see if I can find that for you real quickly.
You wrote it down on there, didn't you?
Yeah, I wrote it down somewhere. It's just I can't read my own writing sometimes. They got Ole Miss up next at home.
Yeah, that's a big game.
Yeah, it's a big game, right? So, I'm going to take Toledo here, folks, plus 8.5 over Kentucky in week 1.
So in week 1 of college football, you and I take a slightly different approach. I would say 80 to 90% of my week 1 plays are on chalk.
Yeah.
I don't like underdogs week 1. You know why? Because all the smart guys spend all summer going, ooh, this underdog's getting too many points. Ooh, that underdog's getting too many points. And I really feel like the value in week 1 is often on the favorites. And everyone's worried about, oh, they're looking ahead to this team. Oh, they're looking ahead to that team. Week 1, you ain't looking ahead. Week 1, you want to kick somebody's ass. And, gee, did I just talk about Texas A&M as a national championship sleeper? Let's talk about in week 1, they're playing UTSA, the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. And Texas San Antonio has been real good against their level of competition in recent years. All right? They really have. Jeff Traylor built a nice program there at their level of competition. What's happened when Texas San Antonio has tried to step up in class? Well, last year they faced Texas. They lost that game 56-7. Year before they went to Tennessee, yeah, they lost that game 45-14. They're outclassed when they step up in class against a team like the Aggies. Oh, by the way, Texas A&M does not have a look ahead. They have Utah State in week 2, before Notre Dame in week 3. So they're healthy week 1, they're motivated week 1. I think the Aggies, they're gonna kill them. Texas A&M minus 21.5. 22s are out there, but if you shop around, you can still find that 21.5. If they win by 22, you can laugh at your friends and say, haha, I won, you guys pushed. The half points can and do matter. We appreciate those likes, we appreciate those follows, we appreciate the comments. Ross, anything you want to leave our audience with before we go?
Well, it's been a pleasure, Teddy. As always, we're going to have a great college football season, both of us and all the guys over at WagerTalk.com. Again, folks, give us a like, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me at WagerTalk TV as well, at wt.buzz/RossTV. That's wt.buzz/RossTV. I do a daily free pick video each and every day over at WagerTalk TV. And Teddy, again, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, Ross. You're beautiful. Don't ever change. Hey, guys, really, thanks for watching. Best of luck with all your bets, and stay tuned right here on this channel for more quality video content. Cheers.